Welcome to April's Garage. Tyler was unavailable Saturday, and you sucked me into it too.
Yes.
Huge auction with, do we call it a derelict auction?
They called it the Junkyard Auction at
Right.
RM. The Rudy Klein Collection, and we will never see something like this ever.
Are you sure?
Ever again.
Because I feel like we saw
absolutely
something
not.
similar when we were at the RM auction
Yes,
back in Monterey.
that was a building full of like 20, 30 cars that weren't quite as special, and the building collapsed on them. It was really cool. This was an entire junkyard that closed up when the owner, Rudy Klein, died in 2001.
Right.
And it had major blue chip collectibles in it. The top selling for almost $10 million.
Right.
It's just unbelievable,
and
the
it
quality
sat
of cars.
For a long time, his family
Yes.
kept it going because I'm kind of like in, I don't know, 50 years from now, 60, when we're toast. Like, are you expecting like your kids to keep your
Unlikely.
collection? Because I don't know if they would.
Well, the story is just wild. So this guy, Rudy Klein, immigrated to the United States, then opened up a European salvage yard, big enthusiast for German and Italian cars. And he would also buy cars and enjoy them for a little while, and then just quit driving them, just park them in his junkyard, in his warehouse, in storage. And some of these cars he'd sell a few parts off of, but kept them mostly intact. But so some of them are wrecked derelicts, or some had mechanical problems and were parked for that reason. And some were just like, I just got bored and quit driving it and just parked the thing, including some Pebble Beach Concours winners. It's just insane. It's like if I kept every single car that I bought in the history of my YouTube channel and just parked it all over my yard.
Right.
Accumulated it for 40, 50 years, died. Then my family waited 25 years to sell it. On top of that, it's
Your
nuts.
collection's a little different. You have like Chrysler LeBaron and like.
I know,
you know what I
I
mean?
know. This is obviously a lot more significant than Hoovie's garage, but you'll see some of the prices that he paid back in the day for these cars. It's like next to nothing.
So he had a good eye for what the value was going to be in the future.
I don't know about that, but he just bought what he liked. So I went through and I pulled up, because it was like 200, 300 cars.
What?
Just the top 10.
What?
Yeah, some of them like sold for like couple $1,000,
Right.
$2,000, $3,000. There was a Maybach there that sold for $200,000 that was like roached out, graffiti covered thing.
Right.
But it's a pre-war Maybach, just absolutely insane.
Really cool.
But that didn't break in the top 10. $200-something thousand, not even close. So like the 10th most expensive car to sell out of this junkyard is a Lamborghini Miura.
I love these cars. Like, I feel like I'll change my mind every month, but this is my dream car right here. It's sexy. It's not loud and overstated. It's just really cool. It defined supercars from then on, and it's just that's
Some people say
gorgeous.
the original supercar, I think the 300 SL Gullwing is, but hey, you can make an argument both ways. This one, the 53rd made. They made like less than 800 Miuras. Some I think
just got the
750,
chills.
800.
It's
Yeah.
so pretty.
But because it's some period hoopty back then, look, they put big old drag slicks on the rear. It's dented, it's covered in dust. But it was a numbers matching car, I believe.
Wow.
And the junkyard acquired this thing in May 1980 after an unspecified mechanical issue. It was parked. So for 44 years, it sat in the junkyard. They must have sold, it's like all the headlights are out of these cars, like they sold the sealed beam headlights, but it sold for $610,000.
Oh, so what would you do with that? Because that's, what do you think, like $500,000 to restore that?
It could be worth double that when it's done, so there is some upside potential here, I suppose, but you'd have to track down a lot of parts because, well, yeah, it's a mess. So
pretty.
$610,000, that's number 10.
So is P400, that's like the prototype, perhaps?
I'm not up on my Miura speak, but yeah, it's not an S or an SV,
Yeah.
which would bring a lot more, the higher performance ones that came later. So yeah, an early one. Now this one's beautiful. Next on the list, 1959 356 Carrera 1500A. So this is one of the cars where he would have bought it, drove it for a little bit, and then just parked it. So not all of them had issues. Not all of them were junked. This one had a factory replacement engine at some point, but otherwise very stock, very original, and just one of those early Porsches. And look how nice and preserved this thing is.
It's gorgeous. Is this in the line of the current Carrera GT?
No, I mean, Carrera as a name has continued for a long time as sort of the sportier, higher performance version or the racing variant. So, yeah, this is sort of the birth of that name, I would say, with 356.
It's really elegant.
Yes,
which all these cars are.
$885,000. So,
Wow.
yeah, the 4-cam engine, only 15 built with the 4-cam. So, whoa.
Okay, so these are very rare cars.
Extremely rare. That's why $885,000. Wonder if Seinfeld bought it. So next on the list is a P400S Miura, but you see it's missing its entire nose. It's gone.
What do you do with this car when you buy it?
You restore it. So yeah, another P400S. And yeah, I guess that was the factory paintwork, this blue color.
Oh, that's cool.
But clearly it had a accident of some kind and it ended up in the junkyard, but it wasn't parted out. So it's been off the road since March 1978. That's when my parents were in high school. That's how long this thing has been put away.
So
just
how
astounding.
Did this one get more than the previous Miura?
So the first one was the P400. Right. This one is an S, not an SV, but it was more power, just a better car, and rarer, obviously. So yeah, even though it's missing a third of it,
$1 million.
$967,500.
Wow.
Crazy. Numbers matching V12 engine in it, which is pretty important. So, yeah, big money there. But now we go over $1 million, and here a 356 Roadster, $1,160,000. And this is another car where he just bought it, drove it for a little bit, and then parked it. So it is a survivor. And he paid only $18,500 for it in May 1978. So you have some notes. Some of the cars they have detailed notes on. But yeah, that's what he paid for the car back then, which in the 70s, that was a lot of money. But he knew this was a very special car. But yeah, 1978 to 2024, now over $1 million.
What
and it is
else
beautiful.
can you invest in that gets you that kind of return?
Over time, I suppose $18,000 in the stock market probably would become that eventually.
If you did it in the right place.
I suppose, like just in the S&P or something like that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty darn cool.
That's gorgeous.
Something bought for $18,000 turned into $1 million car. And there are some stories like that with Porsches where somebody's owned over 50 years or a Gullwing or something like that. But usually it's just one car, one person. This guy had 200 cars. It's just astounding. So next on the list, I think we're about halfway through, a 300 SL Roadster, or what's left of it. And this surprised me because you can buy a running driving 300 SL Roadster for $1 million.
Well,
but this one
has to be something special about this.
Well, this one sold for $1,187,500.
Right.
They were starting to smash some records here with junkyard cars, and I think the barn dust tax is a real thing in some cases because this seemed totally crazy. So it was originally finished in fire engine red, which is pretty common for a convertible.
It back to that.
Yeah, so it's been repainted at some point. It does have its numbers matching engine, axles, and all that stuff. So that is important. But look at it.
I guess pulling it back to silver because that's like Mercedes kind of landmark color and look. But like you gotta get this and restore it back to original.
They think it's 11,000 original miles, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And it is complete under the hood. It is complete inside, what's left of it. So it is definitely restorable, not a massive, horrible restoration. And it's not rusty, but still, you can buy one for $1.1 million that goes down the road. So I was very surprised at this one.
So I feel like there's like a lot of excitement in the room maybe, and people just getting each other egged on and encouraged. Maybe some drinks were passed around as you walked in this auction.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is an early roadster. Early roadsters do bring more.
Yeah.
It did have the knockoff wheels from the factory, which is a desirable option. Pretty rare on the roadster, so that probably helps it. So, I mean, maybe restored this might be a little bit more, I suppose, now that I think about it. But yeah, next on the list, another Miura. And this one, not an S, not an SV, but a little bit more complete of a car.
Oh, look at that logo on the back with the horns and tail on it. That's so cool.
46 years at the junkyard. Yeah, it has the door rusting on the bottom there. But
See, how do you fix that though? Doesn't it like now is it infected forever?
you get a new door skin. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a massive restoration. It would be kind of cool just to get this thing running as is and going down the road
Look at that
because that
shifter.
green is so cool.
The
Yeah,
wood.
it's beautiful. It's complete. It's not an S or an SV, and the number, it just seems crazy to me. $1,325,000.
Because it's a Miura and
Yeah,
it's
but-
gorgeous and it hasn't been touched forever. It's beautiful.
I've seen driving Miuras sell for not that much more. So you're buying a junkyard derelict with rust that hasn't ran in 40 plus years.
Fantastic story.
Yeah.
These are gorgeous. I know you have your Countach, but like I feel like this is the original poster car.
I agree. And they do have a bit of a story on this one. So it says, while this is merely conjecture, we know that the Miura was on the premises of Porsche Foreign Auto Wrecking by March 1978, as reflected by a handful of dated photo prints on file. By then, it was painted its current shade of bright aqua green. So then it came to the junkyard eventually for 46 years. That's where it was, which
So cool.
pretty wild.
That is
So
so cool.
yeah, now we're in the top 4. And this one's sort of unique. I'm not sure if I've ever seen one before, but the ISO Grifo, and I'm probably mispronouncing that.
Just say it fast and with like an accent.
Grifo.
Yeah, it's exactly.
A3L Spider, but Bertone styling. So this was a prototype. It had a different nose on it. At some point, it was crashed. So they put the more generic nose on the front. But yeah, really rare Spider. Here it is back in the day in its showroom, like making the show circuit. They have a black and white photo of it. But eventually found its way to the United States, and Rudy Klein bought it, drove it for a while, and just parked it in, I guess, the early 80s, something like that.
Do we know what he did? Like what his business was?
It was the junkyard.
But like that's how he made his money, not like family money
Correct.
that he came into.
Junkyard.
He was a self-made
Junkyard
junkyard
man.
fanatic.
Correct.
Okay.
Parting out European cars and buying some on the side cheap that he thought were cool, driving it and parking it.
Are you
It's just
getting
a
like
massive hoarder.
ideas from him? Is that why you
Oh.
bury cars in the back?
You could not do this
No.
with modern, first of all, modern collectibles are already so expensive. They haven't had their dip to where they're worth nothing. So
Right.
like an SLS AMG is worth about what it costs new. So you can't buy one for like $5,000 and put
Right.
it away. Even wrecked ones, crashed ones still bring so much money. So this isn't something that anybody is really doing, unfortunately, nowadays. I can't imagine. But
gorgeous
yeah,
inside.
that one sold for $1,875,000.
Okay, is that the exhaust on the
Yes.
side?
Yes. See, it was much more pronounced before it was crashed. The side exit exhaust there. in the period
Beautiful
photo.
design. I've never seen anything like that, which I love when you're seeing something different and new and exciting on that.
Right. So now we're in the top 3.
Okay.
Number 3 is a Horch. Horsh.
What is that?
So it's sort of Audi, sort of great grandpa.
Okay.
Basically, part of this auto union type thing, I believe. Someone's going to get really mad at me when I say this, but because I'm not getting it right. But
Yeah.
so like a pre-war luxury car, sort of competing with Mercedes, and this is a really, really cool car. And even back when Rudy Klein bought it, it was a very historically significant car. And he bought it in June 1980, drove it for a while, tucked it away. But it was like a Pebble Beach show car. It made the show circuit. And people knew that he had it and put it away, but it was just sort of just forgotten in his warehouse. They knew it was there, but nobody could get to it.
Right.
And that's how it got to, well, this condition. It's still, of all the cars, it is the nicest
Yeah, it
one
looks like
by a
you
lot.
hit it in like a good spot where it's not going to get completely dirty and wrecked.
It's already been cleaned up, so getting it going again, not too bad. It's the
Right.
least junkyardy of the bunch, but the price, yeah, insane. $3,305,000.
What do you do with a car like that? Because you don't really want to drive it. Does it sit in a museum?
Well, it
in
hasn't
your
been
living
seen
room?
in 40 years. So you clean it up or you over-restore it, and then you make the show circuit and just collect ribbons because
Yeah,
it's crazy.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes, incredible machine. I think I had a story too. Yeah, it's a Kansas connection.
What?
How it got to the United States. His name was Lorne E. Lawrence of McPherson, Kansas, was serving in the U.S.
McPherson.
Army counterintelligence in Germany, and he purchased it in the late 1940s from a private German citizen.
Whoa.
And then shipped it home, shipped it to New York, drove it cross-country, visiting family cross-country, so he drove it home, and then it made its way to some fancy collectors and things over the decades until he bought it. So, yeah, really cool story there. But not the top sale,
Okay.
believe it or not. $3,305,000 was
But that's
the
not
third
like a
highest sell.
derelict type of junkyard car, but still lived there.
No, the second highest was its competitor here,
Okay.
a 35 Mercedes 500K, so supercharged.
Right. Well, and this one has
Special
the hard top.
coupe.
It's not the convertible.
Yeah,
It looks
$4,130,000.
What?
Right.
What is going on? That's insane. Because again, I get it, and it's rare and cool and beautiful, but you can't drive it. Like, you wouldn't want to drive it, would you?
I would drive this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, supercharged, 8-cylinder. This was the fastest and most powerful car ever built in its day. And these were setting speed records. When Germany opened the Autobahn back in the 30s, they basically took this car, stripped it all down, and then went 268 miles per hour on the Autobahn in the 30s. With
What?
a car.
Do you know how hard that is?
Insane. Insane.
Just even like the wind, like limiting you and hitting it and pushing through that. And 200 miles an hour.
Right. So this car was somebody's daily driver until the 1930s, and then purchased by a series of people until it arrived in the United States. Then went in 1966 to the Pebble Beach Concours, finished second in class, beat out by Bill Harrah and his Bugatti Type 41 Royale for Best in Show.
Yeah.
And then ended up in the junkyard. March 1979, Rudy Klein bought the car, enjoyed it for a little bit. Some people say the car broke down, this guy got really mad and just dumped it on him. But it's more likely that Rudy bought it, fixed it, enjoyed it for a while, and then just tucked it away. This Pebble Beach award-winning example, one of the most exceptional, incredible Mercedes ever made, and it was sitting in a warehouse for 40 years.
I'm just imagining what Pebble Beach Concourse was like back in 1966, because I feel like we kind of dress like the 40s or 50s, like throwback old school,
Right.
but that was old school back then.
Well, they were restoring pre-war cars back then, and they weren't as old. So there is still that essence of the Pebble Beach Concours, where it's the same sort of era pre-war cars, and they've sort of expanded it into different things, and modern racings of the 60s and on, and different things.
Right.
The Tucker Torpedo, they had a whole line of one time of like 20 of them. And that was a year that I went to the Concours.
That's pretty wild.
So they've evolved, but still, at their core, it's crazy pre-war cars like this that usually win Best in Show. So maybe this one will come back out and do it again.
It should.
Absolutely
I hope whoever
incredible.
bought it takes it out and doesn't just kind of stuff it away.
So this exceeded all estimates.
Right.
These prices, the Miuras went for several hundred thousand over their
Good.
estimates that RM put on. This Mercedes, I think, more than $1 million over its estimate. But the crazy of all crazies, an alloy body Gullwing, which they did not make many of these. 29 alloy body, aluminum body Gullwings. They made
good.
plenty of, a couple thousand of the regular Gullwings. But alloy body. It's been repainted once.
Yeah.
Otherwise, unrestored. Original interior, body, gearbox, everything has been inside the walls of this junkyard for 50 years. And it sold for $9,355,000. They were estimating, I think, $5 or $6 million for this. It sold for almost $10 million, which I'm pretty sure is a record for an alloy body Gullwing. It's just nuts. The other crazy thing is how much he paid for it.
Originally, when
Right.
he acquired it.
Here's the story. Rudy Klein met Luigi Cinetti. I'm probably butchering his name, but the name sounds familiar. He
Yeah.
met him while attending the 1976 Daytona 500, where he agreed to purchase the alloy body Gullwing for the sum of $30,000.
Back in
1976.
Okay.
A lot of money in 76 for
Right.
a Gullwing. He drove it for a while,
Oh, yeah.
then parked it in the junkyard, and it sat ever since. Not only that, but it got battered and beaten in the junkyard. It's dented. It's
Well, it looks
It's
like
a
it was
hoopty.
driven and enjoyed.
a hoopty alloy body Gullwing.
So wait, here's the question. Do you leave it as is in
Oh.
this condition, or because I believe it was originally black?
Correct.
Do you do the restoration?
It was the only factory black alloy body Gullwing.
Right.
And I feel like since it's been repainted and since it's a little beat up, you probably have to restore it, considering how special this thing is.
Right.
I mean, it's just a little too rough to go for preservation, and since it's not original paint, obviously if it's original paint, don't touch it.
Right.
But man, it's just nuts. We will never see anything like this.
So almost
ever
$10
again.
million. When it's restored, is it worth somewhere
I don't know.
around that? Because
don't know.
how do you put a price on that?
I remember being at an auction maybe 10, 12 years ago, and it was a guy who had an alloy body Gullwing
Yeah.
that his parents gave him as like a graduation gift, and he drove it for a while and then put it in his garage. It was covered in newspapers and all that stuff. I think that sold, and memories, it's been a long time, like $5 million.
Wow, okay.
And
yeah.
it was in nicer shape than this one.
Right.
But I guess
think,
times change, you know?
You know, and working at Barrett Jackson forever,
Mm-hmm.
whenever you hear like lightweight or anything along those lines, I feel like it always raises the value of the cars. And I think this one, saved like 200 pounds by being the alloy body.
Yeah, not a lot of weight, just
There's
very rare.
a little bit, but it makes a big difference in the price. So if you see anything that says lightweight in it,
Yeah.
it's a good investment.
If you see a Gullwing in a field that's not rusting, which you never will.
Well, there's only 29
just
made.
here. Yeah.
How many actually still exist today? I don't know. It'd be cool to see a map of that.
Who knows? But yep, that was my Saturday. It was amazing.
So you did not bid on that?
No, I did not bid on that. Thank you so much for watching.